Hello, everyone, and happy Portuguese Immigrant Week to everyone in California. It is indeed the second week of March, and we are commemorating the Portuguese Immigrant Week. It was first agreed by then Governor of California, later President of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan, and in 1967. Again, we always give a big shout out to the Portuguese Fraternal Society of America, PFSA, for continuing this commemoration all of these years. We are in the 54th commemoration of the Portuguese Immigrant Week in California. And the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute, PBBI, of course, is present. And as we promised, we're going to be here every single day with lots of different things about the Portuguese presence in California, and with a little bit of a history segment that is part of the book from Dr. Eduardo Mayon Dias, also as a tribute to him, he who contributed immensely to the Portuguese legacy and archiving our history of Portuguese Americans in this great state. The book is called The Portuguese Presence in California, and you can obtain it through the Portuguese Heritage Publications of California as well. Last segment, we talked a little bit about the first Portuguese who arrived, with the very first one in 1814. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what is known as kind of the first wave or the first part of the mass migration to California of Portuguese Americans, most of them, but not all of them, but most of them from the archipelago of the Azores. And of course, the gold rush of 1848 is what brought lots of folks to California. Whether these were Portuguese Americans who already lived, or Portuguese immigrants, mainly from the Azores, as I said, who lived in the east coast of the United States, and of course were enticed by the gold rush, or those who came from Portugal, from the Azores at that particular time, some still on the whaling ships that we discussed a little bit yesterday. And according to Dr. Eduardo Mayon Dias, lots of them didn't really go into the gold rush fever, but they stayed around with logistical support services for the miners, such as horticulture, poultry raising, skilled crafts in some modest numbers, commerce, hostelry, salmon fishing in the Sacramento River, and small craft transportation on the San Francisco Bay. Before long, and they settled into other areas. And around 1854, they started clustering in the city of San Leandro, where many of them were engaged in raising chickens. Others cultivated artichokes in Half Moon Bay. And around 1880, some were working in the Santa Clara vineyards. In 1888, the Portuguese introduced sweet potato cultivation to the Sacramento Valley. And of course, milk production also attracted large number of Azorians, especially to the Sacramento area, also to parts of the Bay Area, and then a little bit into the San Joaquin Valley as well. There are Portuguese presence in the San Joaquin Valley, especially in the Central Valley from Merced to Bakersfield around late 1860s and early 1870s, and most of them around sheep herding at that time. One interesting story, they're all rather interesting from my perspective anyway, and that is that in 1875, and again, I'm reading from the book by Professor Eduardo Mayon Dias, The Portuguese Presence in California, that you can get it through the Portuguese Heritage Publications. So in 1875, while drilling for water for his sheep, again, near Bakersfield, João Inácio de Souza, who was born in 1849 and who died in 1925, a native of Velas, São Jorge, who had immigrated to California as a young man, struck oil. With the fortune he consequently amassed, he became a philanthropist and bequeathing many gifts, including to his hometowns, Santa Casa da Misericórdia and rest home Casa de Repouso João Inácio de Souza, among other worthy causes. A statue honoring Souza's generosity stands in the middle of Velas main plaza, across from the Igreja Matriz. quite interesting man, João Inácio de Souza, born in 1849. He came here as a young man. All indications in the 1860s, in the late 1860s, and in 1875, while in his property while drilling for water, he found, of course, what would be liquid gold, as it was said at times, and that is oil. Again, we thank you all for joining us. This is our segment on Portuguese Immigrant Week in California, a service of the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute. That's PBBI from California State University, Fresno. Portuguese Immigrant Week in California is always the second week, and it will continue until Friday, and we will continue featuring in these various segments here for you. On behalf of PBBI, have a happy Portuguese Immigrant Week, and do not forget to take part in our challenge of giving us your Portuguese immigrant story. And so, again, you do not have to be an immigrant to have a Portuguese immigrant story. Someone in your family had that story. And if you could tell us, because we believe that the Portuguese legacy in California, we at PBBI believe that the Portuguese legacy in California, and certainly what we're working more in the Central Valley, is not just the immigrant. It is the first generation, second, third, fourth generations, and who've continued to have the Portuguese legacy, who've continued to contribute immensely, especially in mainstream California, to the legacy that the Portuguese have built in this great state. So again, it's through social media. It's My Portuguese Immigrant Story. Tell us a little bit about who came to America. Was it you? Were your parents, your grandparents, or great-grandparents? And tell us a little bit about, if you know where they came from, what island, if you know the village as well, when they arrived, more or less, and a little bit about their story. So it's called Portuguese Immigrant Story, or My Portuguese Immigrant Story. And you can find it at the Portuguese Beyond Borders Institute Facebook page, or through the hashtag Portuguese Immigrant Week in CA for California 2021. Again, and a big shout out to PFSA for continuing with this tradition. Portuguese Immigrant Week in California. We will come back tomorrow with a little bit more about our presence in this great state. Thank you so much.